Leadership isn't evolving quietly anymore. It's being re-engineered in real time. Not around authority, not around hierarchy, but around intelligence itself. And not just human intelligence, but distributed intelligence. Data streams, adaptive systems, machines that learn faster than teams can meet. So the real question becomes, when intelligence is everywhere, what exactly is a leader? Welcome back to the B.I channel. I'm Nakel Nakima, and today we're diving into something that is already reshaping boardrooms, startups, governments, and even personal identity. Leadership is no longer about directing people. It's about navigating intelligence. And to unpack that, I'm joined by three people who each see this shift from a different but deeply connected angle: Stella Sinclair, Executive Strategist, Human-Centered Intelligence; Dr. Elena Ruiz, Clinical Intelligence and Cognitive Systems Specialist; and Aiden Vox, AI Systems Architect and Simulation Futurist.
It's good to be back. And honestly, this conversation feels overdue. What we're seeing now isn't just change in leadership styles. It's a redefinition of what leadership even means.
I agree. We're watching human cognition collide with systems that operate at entirely different speeds and structures. Leaders are right in the middle of that collision.
And from the systems side, what's fascinating is that most organizations are still structured like intelligence is scarce, even though it's rapidly becoming abundant.
Let's start there. When we say intelligence economy, it sounds abstract. But for someone leading a company right now, what does that actually mean in practice?
It means your organization is no longer defined by roles alone. It's defined by how intelligence flows, who has access to it, how quickly it moves, how well it's interpreted. Leadership becomes less about giving direction, and more about shaping that flow.
And that flow has a psychological cost that we don't talk about enough. Humans evolved to process limited information. Now leaders are expected to interpret massive volumes of inputs while also guiding others through that complexity. It's not just operational pressure. It's cognitive pressure.
From my perspective, the shift is architectural. Leaders are no longer just managing teams. They are setting up environments where intelligence, both human and artificial, interacts. If the architecture is wrong, no amount of leadership charisma will fix it.
So leadership becomes less about control and more about design.
Exactly. You're designing systems that think.
And systems that influence how people think. That part is critical. Because once intelligence systems are embedded in workflows, they start shaping decisions before leaders even realize it.
That brings us into mindset. If leadership itself is changing at this level, what has to change inside the leader?
The first shift is comfort with uncertainty. Not just accepting it, but operating effectively within it. Leaders used to rely on stable frameworks. Now those frameworks are constantly updating.
I would add systems awareness. Leaders need to see patterns, not just outcomes. They need to understand that a decision in one area reverberates through multiple layers of intelligence: human teams, algorithms, data pipelines.
And I'd push it further. Leaders need to think like simulation designers. Before acting, they should be asking, what happens if this scales? What happens if this is automated? What happens if this interacts with another system we didn't anticipate?
That's interesting because it almost suggests leaders are stepping into a kind of predictive role.
Not predicting the future exactly, but modeling possibilities. The difference is subtle, but important.
And there's an emotional dimension to that. Living in constant possibility can be destabilizing. Leaders need psychological resilience to function without clear certainty.
Let's bring this into something very tangible. Teams. Because at the end of the day, leadership still involves people. But now it also involves non-human agents. How do you lead a hybrid team without losing trust on either side?
Clarity is everything. People need to understand where human judgment is essential and where machines are augmenting. If that line is blurred, anxiety grows.
And that anxiety is not irrational. Humans interpret replacement as threat. So leaders must actively reinforce the value of human contribution, especially in areas like creativity, ethics, and context.
At the same time, leaders can't protect inefficiency under the banner of humanity. The goal is complementarity. Machines handle scale and speed. Humans handle nuance and meaning.
So the leader becomes a translator between two types of intelligence.
That's a great way to put it. A translator and a balancer.
Let's talk decisions. Because this might be where the shift feels most immediate. When data is abundant and systems are constantly generating insights, does intuition still matter?
It does, but it changes. Intuition becomes informed intuition. It's no longer operating in isolation from data.
Also, leaders need to recognize cognitive overload. More information doesn't automatically lead to better decisions. Sometimes it leads to paralysis.
Which is why simulation becomes so important. Instead of debating endlessly, you test scenarios. You let systems explore outcomes at scale, then use human judgment to interpret.
But that raises a subtle risk. If leaders rely too heavily on simulations, do they start deferring responsibility?
Only if they misunderstand their role. Simulations don't decide. They inform. The leader still owns the decision.
And psychologically, that ownership matters. People don't follow algorithms. They follow accountability.
Let's move into something harder. Power. Because when intelligence becomes central, power shifts. Who controls intelligence systems? Who has access? Who is left out?
This is one of the most important questions. If intelligence is unevenly distributed, then opportunity becomes unevenly distributed. Leaders have a responsibility to prevent that gap from widening.
There's also the issue of dignity. When machines outperform humans in certain tasks, leaders must ensure people are not reduced to feeling obsolete.
And from a systems perspective, concentration of intelligence is dangerous. If too few entities control advanced systems, you create a new kind of imbalance that goes beyond economics.
So ethical leadership becomes inseparable from technological leadership.
Yes, you cannot separate them anymore.
If we look ahead, how do we actually prepare leaders for all of this? Because this isn't something you learn in a traditional business program.
We start by teaching leaders how to think in systems, not silos. That's foundational.
We also need to train emotional adaptability. Leaders must remain grounded while everything around them accelerates.
And we need to teach them how intelligent systems are built and governed. Not at the coding level necessarily, but at the conceptual level. They need to understand what's shaping their decisions.
It sounds like the future leader is part strategist, part psychologist, part systems architect.
That's exactly it.
And still human at the core. That part doesn't disappear.
If anything, it becomes more important.
There's something almost paradoxical here. The more intelligence expands externally, the more intentional leadership has to become internally.
Because without that internal anchor, leaders can become reactive instead of deliberate.
Before we close, I want to ground this in one final idea. If a leader listening today feels overwhelmed by this shift, what's the first step forward?
Start mapping how intelligence flows through your organization. Just observe it. That alone can change how you lead.
Pay attention to how your team is experiencing these changes. Not just performance, but emotion, stress, adaptation.
And experiment. Don't wait for perfect clarity. Build small intelligent systems, test them, learn from them.
So leadership in this era isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions, designing better systems, and staying human in the process. Stella, Elena, Aiden, thank you. This conversation doesn't just redefine leadership. It reframes how we think about intelligence itself. And to everyone listening, this is only the beginning. Because the intelligence economy isn't coming. It's already here. The real question is whether leadership will evolve fast enough to meet it.